Hello, fellow dog pounders. My name is Dodge. You better know me as Dodgicus, the leader of the Dog Pound. I want to welcome you on into my video series based on our Clash of Clans war adventures. Today we're going to talk about a topic that is very important. It is War Base Design 101. And we're going to have some fun. I got four topics to cover here. The first one being centralized air defense. The second one being the double bomb, which is a hog's worst nightmare. The third being spacing and trap placement within your base. And the last one will be clan castle radius and also non-defensive buildings. So let's jump right in. I've got some examples to show you, a couple of bases that I took pictures of from not only ourselves, but also the enemy to kind of get an idea of what we're looking to do. So here we have the enemy first, obviously. This is one of the guys from Polska. He has a centralized air defense. Now, what do we mean by that? A centralized air defense means the air defenses are relatively evenly spaced, but also within the third layer of your base. When you're looking at a base, as this guy has his set up, you see that there is a layer of non-defensive buildings on the outside. None of these buildings fire any weapons, therefore you don't need them inside your walls to protect your base. Now, what he has done is set them up so that the storages, you see the elixir, the gold, and the dark elixir, are positioned in areas where his air defenses have been put. The reason for doing this, these are high hit point buildings. They take a single dragon a long time to destroy. We've all had attacks that have fizzled because of storages. They also need multiple dragons to really move through. The other thing that it does is it gives that air defense time to fire upon those dragons before they reach it, even if the player is using a rage spell, which is key. Now we're going to go and take a look at a second example. This is also from the enemy. Now you may look at this and think that this is not a centralized air defense, but I promise you it is. All four of the air defenses overlap one another in terms of coverage range, meaning that if a dragon gets to one, it will be being fired on by no less than 2 to 3 air defense at one time. So even if it destroys one, the likelihood of it getting to a second one is very low. He's also placed his expos, raised ground and air, so that they can provide coverage and defend those air defenses, and his wizard towers have been placed within that center as well. So although this may look easy to come up from the bottom to destroy, it's actually quite difficult. And that is the crux of a centralized air defense. Put 2 layers of buildings and 2 layers of walls. And we're going to go to another example, this one also within the enemy. He's placed his centralized air defenses within what we call the core of your base. And that's where your town hall and your clan castles sit. And then he's surrounded it with at least 2 layers of walls and then at least 2 layers of buildings on the outside. This is the idea we're going for. Well, since we don't want to just highlight the enemy, I want to show you a couple of ours that also have this theme. Here we have Fang's base. He has centralized air defense. He also has 2 to 3 layers of buildings in front as well as walls of those air defenses. And his non-essential buildings are mostly on the outside with the exception of a few storages, which you'll notice are placed within range of those air defenses to provide extra cover. Another base, also this would be M62. He has a centralized air defense. He also has what I want to talk about with our second topic, so it's a great segue. Good job, Dodge. He has double bombs. Now, when we're talking about hog attacks, the greatest weapon that you have now is the bomb. It does 1.5 times damage to hogs, and if you place 2 of them together and they're level 2 or up, they have enough damage to severely hinder or wipe out a level 5 hog attack, even with heal spells. Now here's the keys. If you'll notice on M62's base, within range of those double bombs are wizard towers. That's right, splash damage. What's great about splash damage? Big group of enemies, damage them all at once. The hogs come in, they hit the double bombs, and the wizard towers go to work with splash damage. Even with a healing spell, that group of hogs can still be wiped out. And if they're lower level hogs, sayonara, they were probably dead when the bombs went off anyway. And that's what we're talking about with double bombs. Now, that plays into the spacing of a base. If you'll notice, and we'll stay on M62 to keep this simple, He has a spot for the double bombs, not only where they actually are, but up by the other two air defenses as well. Within your base, you need to set spacing. And this goes back to traps. With spring traps, single bombs, air mines, skeletons, double bombs, hidden Teslas, if you only have 2 to 3 little boxed in 2 by 2 spaces, it's easy for the enemy to tell where those things are. What you need to do is make multiple spacing within the base to make multiple spots where those things could be and keep your opponent guessing. Another great example of spacing within and the traps comes from Caleb. This is the design him and I ripped off the internet. Well, I guess I should say I ripped it off and then he ripped it off of me. But you could see at the top, there's double bombs and spacing around so that you can't tell exactly where they might be. Now you can also do some modifications depending on the war with a base like this. He can move the double bombs down into this ring right below them and move the spacing of the bombs so that people don't know what to expect, even if they go look this base up on the internet, which, by the way, is incredibly hard to 3-star. And that's just a little bit on spacing. Another great trick, if you don't want to do spacing, I understand. Some of you have compact bases. I'll tell you now that hogs are deadly to compact bases. So if you want to combat that, you need to have some spacing or funneling points where the hogs will get trapped, hitting springs. Even if you just put a 1 space gap between defenses and place a spring trap in the middle between them, that's a great way to knock out 3 or 4 hogs at a time and severely cut down on the enemy's ability to finish your base. So just a trick with spacing, make sure that the gap isn't more than 2, and make sure that you know that Teslas and the giant bombs don't make a barrier around them. So if you put them in a spot where there is a gap in your base, that gap will remain. They will be able to spawn in that hole, and you will get to post an embarrassing defense for all of us to watch. So make sure that your spacing is correct and that all of your gaps are covered. But spacing is another great way to defend against dragons, because if you space them out with their slow movement speed, it gives the air defenses just that little bit of extra time to take out and destroy a few more of the dragons before they're over top of them. Some great examples of spacing are within the clan. If you want to know kind of some ideas on what to do, you can also look them up on YouTube. Simply type in TH for Town Hall and the number that you are, either 7, 8, 9, or 10, and then War Base. And you will get hundreds of ideas on bases that have spacing, bases that funnel. Grillmaster is a great example of a funneling war base that works pretty well. If you have questions on design or you want some ideas, he's a great guy to talk to. He loves the funnel. So that's just some things that you can do with your spacing, funneling, to make it harder for them to drive to the middle or core of your base. Now, the last thing that we're going to cover is going to be centralizing your clan castle and your heroes. I forgot to mention those. They're oft forgotten in defense, but since the update way back in the summertime, they've turned your king and queen into tanks. We all remember, hilariously, being able to drive the king to follow you out to the outside of the base and destroy him with about 10 to 15 archers. Those days are gone. The king no longer chases. They have a radius that they stay within. That means that they should be in the core of your base, your last defense. Don't have them on the outside where they can be killed off and destroyed quite easily within the first few seconds of a battle. Bring them into the middle, surround them with the town, or put them outside of the town hall, and use that radius to your advantage. This is another great hog defense. Having the king and queen in the middle so that when the hogs get in there, the opponent has no control over how many they slaughter before that they can get other troops in to kill them. That's what you want. You want as much time as possible for all cylinders of your defense to fire. And that's the best way to do it, is to move those two, or if you just have the Barb King, into the middle by the town hall. Now, your clan castle, I mentioned, should also be in that core and as close to the middle as possible. Now, I know that sounds counterintuitive, to expose your town hall by moving it further towards the outside of a wall as opposed to plopping it down in the middle and then sticking things around it. However, you can use Teslas at level 7, 8, and 9, and 10 to protect that other side of the town hall, which is what I would recommend. You want those things firing, and if they use P.E.K.K.A.s against you, having 2 or 3 Teslas or even 4 together in that close spot can quickly stop them from pouring into the middle of your base and destroying your town hall for a cheap 1-star. So that's how I would combat that. But when you do the clan castle, it's important that while you're designing the base that you hit the clan castle every once in a while and check the radius outside of it. And for that, we're going to go back to the enemy. I hate them as much as you do, but they've got some great base designs. This guy, with his spacing, because he spaced the base the way he did, if you look at the clan castle radius, all of the defenses are just slightly outside of that line, which means that if you try to draw the castle with hogs, they may very well get to those first defenses, but you have no chance of drawing the entire clan castle until they've destroyed those and moved into the second layer, which is what you want. You want to make your clan castle as difficult as possible to draw. The only way to do that is with your defense and your walls. Obviously, hogs can jump over walls, so you want to use the defense to sit with the radius within those defenses, just on the edge like that, like he has that. And then you use your walls and your non-defensive buildings to make choke points where they have to deploy. Here on the left and here on the right, or down through here, they have to take out at least one level of defense before they can draw that castle. That's the idea. That's how you make it tough. That's what defense is about in this clan. We want to make it as tough as possible for our opponent to get to the town hall and 3-star the base. I'm willing to concede a 1-star on any base. Any base can be 1-starred. We've seen it happen. Even the cheapest Barcher can 1-star a base. Make it so they can't 2 and 3-star you, and we will win more wars. That is the key. That is all for now. Thanks, guys. Let's clash on, and good luck to us in the war on Friday. See ya.